headlines of this hour on VTV News. Top Chinese leader's state visit to Vietnam grabs Chinese headlines. And national study aims to support Vietnam in policy interventions for sustainable development. And in our world news, Fed holds rates steady.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Hello, it is 3 p.m. local time and you're watching VTV News. I'm Nguyen Phu with the top stories. State President Võ Văn Thưởng visited and congratulated the Phie Archdiocese, one of the 3 major archdioceses in Vietnam, on the occasion of the upcoming Christmas season of 2023 and the New Year 2024. The Archbishop of the Phie Archdiocese expressed his joy that the Vietnamese party and state leaders have had successful working trips recently, which contribute to elevating Vietnam's position in the international arena. The state president's visit to Vatican and meeting with Pope Francis in particular have opened a new phase in Vietnam-Vatican relations. State President Võ Văn Thưởng conveyed the warm regards of the Vietnamese party and state leaders to the priests and Catholic followers. He mentioned that a resolution on promoting the traditions and strengths of great national unity has just been issued as part of Vietnam's efforts to contribute to world peace and happiness. He also called for solidarity among Vietnamese people, regardless of their religious beliefs or lack thereof, both within and outside of Vietnam, to foster peace and development for the country and the world. Major media agencies in China have provided extensive coverage of the Chinese Party General Secretary and President Xi Jinping's state visit to Vietnam over the past 2 days. Many experts from both countries anticipate that the success of the visit will bring significant benefits to the Vietnam-China Comprehensive Strategic Cooperation Partnership.
China's Xinhua news agency featured a headline stating, "China, Vietnam agree to build a community with a shared future that carries strategic significance." The two parties have announced a new positioning of relations and agreed to establish a community with a shared future that holds strategic importance. The article quotes the Chinese leader emphasizing the importance of adhering to high-level strategic guidance, strengthening exchanges, and mutual learning on party and state governance between China and Vietnam. The Vietnamese Party General Secretary is also quoted, expressing the deep friendship between Vietnam and China, comparing it to that of comrades and brothers. In other articles, Xinhua news agency highlights the meetings between Chinese party and state leaders and Vietnamese senior leaders. Both sides affirm that the Vietnam-China community with a shared future, which carries strategic significance, will open a new chapter in bilateral ties between the two countries. The Chinese press also analyzed new opportunities for the two countries after the visit. According to China Daily, the party secretary of Dongxing City in China expressed willingness to collaborate with Vietnam in promoting the high-quality development of agricultural products. Additionally, the vice president of the Diplomatic Academy of Vietnam mentioned in another article on China Daily that the outcome of the visit will not only impact bilateral ties but also China's neighborhood policy and potentially Beijing's broader strategic goals.
A protocol has been signed regarding quarantine requirements for watermelon exported from Vietnam to China. This development opens the doors for Vietnamese fresh watermelon to officially enter the lucrative market of China. According to the protocol, fresh Vietnamese watermelon must adhere to Chinese laws, regulations, and standards concerning food hygiene and safety, as well as meet plant quarantine requirements. To meet these standards, the watermelon must not be contaminated with 5 specific plant quarantine subjects specified by China. Additionally, all growing areas registered for export to China must establish a quality management and traceability system, implement good agricultural practices or GAP, and ensure proper supervision of cultivating gardens and the packaging process. the financial climate was one of the 4 highlights of the 28th United Nations Climate Change Conference, or COP28, which concluded on Wednesday. During the conference, Vietnam officially introduced the Resource Mobilization Plan to implement the political declaration for establishing the Just Energy Transition Partnership, or JETP, with the International Partners Group, or IPG. The partners have pledged to mobilize an initial amount of $15.5 billion over the next 3 to 5 years to support Vietnam's fair energy transition.
As part of COP28, this bank has successfully mobilized $300 million from 2 major international financial institutions. To date, over 1,500 sustainable development projects have received green credit support from this bank.
The Asian Development Bank is providing funding for green development, rural agriculture, and SMEs aimed at reducing emissions, with a total capital of $200 million. Our bank has signed a cooperation agreement with Standard Chartered Bank. Furthermore, we have also allocated a fund worth $100 million to support other commercial activities.
International capital sources play a crucial role in stabilizing the medium and long-term capital structure of domestic banks, enabling them to meet lending standards for green projects. To ensure effective allocation and utilization of this resource, experts emphasize the importance of transparent and clear legal mechanisms. Hervé Conan, director of the French Development Agency in Vietnam, suggests that relevant authorities should focus on establishing criteria for classifying investment projects that facilitate the energy transition with minimal environmental impact. This will enable both domestic and international investors to utilize climate finance instruments.
To mobilize funding for Vietnam's green energy transition, we need a straightforward legal framework and streamlined ODA acceptance procedures. Relevant ministries and departments should devise efficient medium and long-term planning that clearly identifies sectors for public and private investments, as well as priority fields for using ODA.
To achieve the goal of net zero emissions by 2050, Vietnam needs substantial resources. In support of Vietnam's efforts, the World Bank plans to promote game-changing projects as part of the $5 to $7 billion loans for the country over the next 3 years.
At the 2023 award ceremony for Vietnam's most sustainable businesses, organized by the Vietnam Chamber of Commerce and Industry, or VCCI, 100 businesses were honored. Trần Tuấn Anh, chairman of the Party Central Committee's Economic Commission, spoke at the event and highly appreciated the improvements in the Corporate Sustainability Index, or CSI. He also confirmed that the Economic Commission will be part of the evaluating council for the 100 sustainable enterprises. Notably, Vietnamese enterprises make up 60% of the top 10 sustainable businesses in the trade, services, and manufacturing sectors, with the remaining 40% being foreign enterprises. In recent years, many farmers in Hòa Bình have successfully transitioned to farming according to global GAP standards, thanks to organic production. Recently, Diễn grapefruit from Hòa Bình province met the strict requirements and standards of numerous exporters, providing significant opportunities to enhance the value of local agricultural products. To accomplish this, there is a growing focus on standardizing the cultivation process in the region among local authorities.
Numbering each tree to track the entire growth process is a mandatory requirement for pomelo orchards eligible for exports in the Dak Dong Cooperative, Hòa Bình Province. Local technical officers regularly accompany farmers to supervise cultivation practices and ensure food safety. Checking the bricks value is an essential step before harvest.
I am cultivating a 30-hectare organic pomelo orchard, adhering to global GAP standards, to export to the U.S. The commune aims to expand the operations of this cooperative to increase production scale.
An additional 48 tons of Diễn Lương Sơn pomelos have been shipped to the United States. It is noteworthy that the bricks level and the presence of 900 active substances related to pesticide residues and other residues essential for food safety have been approved by the United States testing laboratories for export.
The Provincial Committee has issued a project to replant citrus fruit trees, including provisions for large-scale production areas to cater to large orders. In the following years, these growing areas will be further expanded according to customer needs. We expect the future output to reach hundreds or thousands of tons.
Grapefruit is emerging as a key crop in Hoa Binh province. Specifically, the area dedicated to growing Dien grapefruit this year spans over 3,200 hectares. This accounts for nearly 60% of the total grapefruit growing areas. Moving forward, the local agricultural sector will continue to support farmers in expanding the planting areas that are granted codes and promote product consumption through export activities.
The total export turnover of the leather, footwear, and handbag industry this year has exceeded $24 billion. This announcement was made during a conference held in Hanoi on Wednesday afternoon, which evaluated the industry's performance in 2023 and developed the business plan for 2024. Vietnam is currently exporting to over 100 markets worldwide, with 72 of them generating an export turnover of more than $1 million. This achievement has positioned Vietnam as the second largest exporter of footwear products globally. With an export turnover of over $24 billion, the footwear and handbag industry is among the top 10 manufacturing industries in the country in terms of export value. The industry is actively embracing innovation in production methods and investing in technology to promote green production. It is projected that by 2024, the industry's export turnover will grow by 10%, aiming to exceed $26 billion in export value. Now let's take a look at the foreign exchange rate of today, December 14th. Coming up next on VTV News. National study aims to support Vietnam in policy interventions for sustainable development. And first, Vietnam-Laos-Cambodia border defense friendship exchange strengthens solidarity and trust. Moving on to other news. Investing in people and the environment leads to significant positive economic and social benefits in the long run. This statement is the key finding of a national study that examined the impacts of selected policy scenarios on accelerating sustainable development in Vietnam. To finalize the study, the Ministry of Planning and Investment, in collaboration with UNESCAP and the UN in Vietnam, organized a workshop in Hanoi on Thursday to consult with relevant stakeholders on the study's results.
During the workshop, experts presented the findings of a national study on the impacts of selected policy scenarios on Vietnam's sustainable development. Among other findings, 3 key takeaways were highlighted to inspire further discussion. These takeaways included the importance of investing in renewable energy, human capital, and energy efficiency-focused infrastructure, as well as investing in digital transformation. The study also emphasized the significance of mobilizing diverse sources of finance, including private capital, to invest in key development priorities.
I think the important highlight of the study is to support the policy package that the Vietnamese government has been implementing. It shed light on what the economic, social, and environmental impacts of this policy package, and it would provide evidence-based, qualitative support.
If you recognize the COP28 commitments, it's only now that they're saying transition away from fossil fuels. But Vietnam already took those commitments in COP26. So congratulations for the vision, for the ambition. And what we offer is that the UN continues to support the government of Vietnam and the people of Vietnam to reach its ambitious targets.
According to the UN, Vietnam has made significant progress in improving living standards and lifting millions of people out of poverty. Building on these achievements, Vietnam has set a vision to become a high-income country by 2045 and achieve net zero emissions by 2050. The workshop aims to complete a study that will assist the Vietnamese government in making informed policy decisions to reach these goals.
In recent years, proactive policies of the National Target Program have led to improved living conditions for many disadvantaged households residing in remote areas. Join us as we delve into this topic in the following story, recorded in the impoverished district of Đắk Lông, Đắk Nông Province.
Phie and her family are overjoyed as they have a new home. For many years, they had been living in a dilapidated wooden house, unable to afford repairs. However, with the support of the local authority, Phie's family managed to secure loans from different sources and build a stable house.
I never thought I could have a decent home like this. Now, I don't have to worry when heavy rains arrive. I am very happy and will also work hard to repay the debt and take care of my 3 children.
In addition to Phie, 14 households from ethnic groups in this area are also experiencing the same happiness. Their long-standing desire for a decent home is finally being fulfilled, thanks to the housing support they have received in impoverished districts under the National Target Program for Sustainable Poverty Reduction.
I felt a wave of excitement when I was approved to be the beneficiary of housing support. I would like to express my deepest gratitude to the party and the state.
We had to encourage the locals, especially households owning residential land, to voluntarily pass the land on to their descendants so that they could meet the necessary requirements to benefit from the housing program. Once people have stable homes, they can focus on working hard to improve their financial situation.
The Housing Assistance Program for Poor and Near-Poor households in Đắk Lông district aims to support over 100 families. This initiative is designed to accelerate poverty reduction, ensure social welfare, and promote unity among ethnic communities in remote regions.
The search and collection team of the Thanh Hóa Provincial Military Command, responsible for locating and retrieving the remains of fallen soldiers, recently discovered the remains of a soldier in That Village, Muang Son District, Hủa Phan Province, Laos. The team received information about the location from local villagers. Upon examinations of relics such as buttons, hammocks, and parachutes belonging to Vietnamese soldiers, it was determined that the remains belonged to a Vietnamese volunteer soldier and specialist. Interestingly, this location was previously used as a burial site for Vietnamese volunteer soldiers and experts who lost their lives in Laos during the resistance war against the U.S. Since the beginning of the dry season in 2023 until now, the search and collection team of the Thanh Hóa Provincial Military Command has discovered the remains of 7 Vietnamese volunteer soldiers and experts who perished in the area. These discoveries include the areas of Muang Hiểm, Vieng Say, Muang Son, Muang Shan in Hủa Phan Province. The Ministries of Defense of Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia organized the first Border Defense Friendship Exchange on Thursday morning. This event started with a welcoming ceremony for the Laos and Cambodian delegations at the border junction marker area connecting Kon Tum Province of Vietnam, Attapeu of Laos, and Ratanakiri of Cambodia. The exchange is of great importance as it contributes to strengthening political trust and building friendship and solidarity among the 3 countries. As part of the program, 3 countries' defense ministers took part in a landmark salute ceremony, painted sovereignty markers, and witnessed joint patrols. The event also included a joint military medical exercise, the inauguration ceremony of a culture house, and a program presenting gifts to students in the area. An annual defense ministerial meeting and signing ceremony of cooperation documents are also on schedule. As Tet nears, tourism businesses are busy preparing for the biggest holiday of the year. Early bookings for Tet tours are nearly full. The tourism industry is expecting a surge in revenue during this period.
Anticipating the popularity of outbound tourism during Tet, the company has specifically targeted markets such as the US, Japan, South Korea, and Canada. It has collaborated with airlines, restaurants, and hotels to provide a variety of discounted prices for its tours.
We have created highlights for each tour, focusing on cultural experiences. For example, you can book a trip to Japan.
Travel companies have observed an increase in the demand for short tours, with a majority of bookings coming from families. In order to attract tourists during the year-end period and the Tet holiday season, businesses have concentrated on marketing activities both domestically and internationally.
We prepared early, worked with partners to get the best prices for tourists. With a group of high-quality tour products, we expect that the sooner customers book, the lower the price will be. We hope to negotiate deals with businesses from other countries to offer competitive prices for tourists.
Authorities need to strengthen inspections to avoid simultaneous price surges. Travel companies should focus on short tours to benefit the most from this holiday season.
Prices for 2024 Tet tours fluctuate depending on the route. The current trend is an increase of about 5 to 15%. Customers are advised to book tours early in order to secure good prices and choose reputable travel companies. These recommendations were provided by businesses in the tourism industry.
Farmers in Tam Long District, Dong Thap Province are in the second round of sowing seeds for the winter-spring crop season. When the water in the fields is drained, farmers start working on land preparation and cleaning the fields. In recent days, storks have been flocked to many places to search for food, creating a peaceful picture of a field of birds amidst a vast cajuput forest.
When the sun rises on the field of Tram Chim Town, many types of storks swoop down. At first there is just a small flock, then thousands of black ibises, swallow storks and stilts also land. Their landing all at once creates an impressive scene for onlookers.
They only come to eat. When the water is dry or after sowing the rice, they will go away. They will leave in 2 to 3 days.
When a flock of black ibis gathers together to cover the entire field, a flock of white storks also flies together with the farmers cleaning the fields. They create an impressive scene of a harvest day.
This year there are many birds. I feel very happy because people's lives are getting better. That's why the storks come back more often. There are thousands of them.
These beautiful and impressive scenes have recently become more frequent not only in Tram Chim but also in almost every other field in Dong Thap Province. This also comes from people's increasing awareness of environmental protection. They abandon wild bird traps, increase organic production, help the environment become fresher and safer.
We are implementing 2 major projects: quality rice production to reduce emissions and ecological rice production, associated with red-crowned crane conservation in Tram Chim National Park. This is a good sign to see people's awareness in converting production practices from traditional rice to ecological rice.
In the future, Dong Thap Province will implement a project to preserve and develop Saris cranes in Tram Chim National Park. This is a positive solution in changing and further improving the ecological environment in the national park and surrounding areas.
Coming up next in our world news, Fed holds rates steady. And Rockefeller Center Christmas tree to be lit. Moving on to our world news, the U.S. Federal Reserve officials left interest rates unchanged in their final policy decision of 2023. Interest rates are set to a range of 5.25 to 5.5%, where they have been since July. After making a rapid series of increases that started in March 2022 and pushed borrowing costs to their highest level in 22 years as of this summer, Fed officials have held policy steady for 3 straight meetings. They expect that U.S. economic growth will hit 2.6% by the end of this year, slightly up from September projections. They also estimate real GDP growth will hit 1.4% by the end of 2024. The Indonesian government on Wednesday released details of new regulations designed to attract investors looking to build electric vehicles or EV plants in the country. The new regulations will grant automakers that plan to build electric vehicle plants tax incentives on their imports of completely built EVs until 2025. The updated regulations also extended deadlines relating to the production of EVs in Indonesia. The requirement for companies to manufacture a minimum of 40% of EV content within the country has been postponed from 2023 to 2026, and the country's government has set an ambitious goal of manufacturing approximately 600,000 electric vehicles in the country by 2030. December is the time when many places across the U.S. officially decorate and light up Christmas trees in public places. This is a signal for the beginning of the festive season. In New York City, when mentioning this ritual, it is most prominent Christmas tree is the Rockefeller Center in the middle of the city. It is special because this tradition has been around for more than 90 years and is increasingly influential. More in the following story.
The Christmas tree lighting ceremony on Wall Street has a history of more than 100 years, but it is often kept simple between tellers and area residents. The setup and lighting of the Rockefeller Christmas tree has been a tradition of the entire city for more than 90 years.
I think it's extremely important that they continue to do it, get rid of some of the silly things and stay with tradition.
This tradition began in 1931 at the start of the Great Depression. Pine trees are now often donated by a family in New York or a neighboring state.
It came from upstate New York, somewhere where I've been, so it's always kind of fun to see something, from where I live kind of close.
It usually takes nearly 20 days from the time they bring the pine tree until it is decorated. And finally, the most awaited moment has arrived, lighting up the pine tree.
3, 2, 1!
Well, you can see how busy it is. It's an indicator that people are back to their normal routines and enjoying being together and taking in all the sights and the sounds. And so it's great to see a life in America return to normal. People feel comfortable, not only COVID, but maybe the threat of terrorism or violence.
Every year, along with the lighting ceremony, there is always a music program with many famous singers and people who come to watch the heralded event. It also helps connect and bring people together as a symbol of the start of the holiday seasons of Christmas and New Year's.
Now, before we say goodbye, let's take a look at the weather forecast. And that is it for this news bulletin. To rewatch our program, you can download our mobile app VTVgo or check out our YouTube channel VTV4Go. Thank you for watching and see you next time.